So here's my take on COVID-19, or whatever you want to call it this week. Now, this has been bollocksed up by the British government from the start, right? And I can see why cases in the beginning, around about January, February, rose sharply, particularly in the West, because in the West we thought it wouldn't hit us. Right? We've seen MERS, SARS, swine flu, bird flu, and God knows whatever flu come out of the Far East, and it's mainly affected the Far East. I may be wrong on this, and I'm willing to be entertained at the fact that I'm wrong. But from what I can remember and what I observed at the time, but I didn't see any lockdown back then. Now then, I'm not denying people have died of this, but what I am questioning is the amount of people have died of it. Like, there was a thing, I think it was on social media somewhere, where 2 people had died, and one died of a heart attack, and one died of a stroke, bless them both. And when they got the death certificate, it said COVID-19. So the 2 families contacted the hospital concerned, and they said, hang on a minute, my relative died of a heart attack, why have you put COVID-19 on? And the hospital said, we're following government orders. So that tells me that doesn't matter what you died of between March and July, it just gets stuck down as COVID-19 to massage the figures, basically, to scare the populace. Right? All these facts and figures. If you look at the first round of figures that came out from March about the death rates, all the other countries that were testing, right, they put in how many had tested positive, how many had died, and how many had recovered. But when you look at the UK, there was no recovery number, even though week on week you were seeing people getting clapped off the ward that survived this COVID. And now, September, they're saying that the infection rate's gone right up, right, but the death rate hasn't. Now that confuses the hell out of me. It's a complete reversal, right? Now if you remember at the beginning, the subject of masks came up, and the government said at the time there was no evidence that the masks would do any good. So nobody wore them, or not many. In fact, if you did wear one at the time, you were looked at, rather, like with some weirdo from the planet Zorg. And now, if you don't wear one, you're looked at like from the planet Zorg again. Yeah, it is so confusing the way this government has gone about this. Me personally, I wouldn't have done that. So, I don't trust the media, and I since do not trust the government ever since, Matt Hancock, was it? He's the Minister for Health. Should have had this run by bloody Tony Hancock if he was still alive. At least he was funny. Bless him. He went on his soapbox in the early days with a picture of a kid, right, saying that this kid was the youngest kid at that time to die of COVID-19, and it moved him to tears that they buried him and his family and friends couldn't be there at the funeral. He was moved to tears. What a crock of shit. Right, 2. 1. That kid that the featured that went round all the British press at the time must have been the unluckiest kid on the planet, because he's died over 4 years. He's died 4 times in 4 different countries, and changed his religion at least once. Right, his family members in the States, quite rightly, and I'm with them on this one, blasted the British government for using his photo in their propaganda. That's what this is. That's what this COVID shit is. Propaganda. And I'll tell you what, Goebbels would be proud of this one. In fact, I'm surprised he didn't think of it himself. The Nazis could have won the war hands down without firing a bullet. Anyway, that's my warped sense of humour kicking in there. Right, now his family back in the States did. I'm not quite sure how he originally died, but I believe it was obviously in the States, and it was something to do with the internet that went wrong or something. I'm not sure. I'm not going to drag it up for them. But apparently he died in France by killing himself. died somewhere else, and whatever. And from that moment on, when a public servant could go on mainstream media and just blatantly lie to the country like that, I don't want to know. Right, they can please the bloody selves what they do, because I think it's absolutely disgusting. It's been a lie all along, and what it is now, we're looking at a possibility. Well, there's no possibility. It's going to happen. A second lockdown, right? So what do? Scare the shit out of the populace. This is how you rule. Rule by fear. The British have been doing it for centuries. That's how they ruled an empire centuries ago. They ruled by fear. Right? So now they're scaring the shit out of the population. Saying you must do this, you must do that. Right? The downside is if the economy goes completely tits up, that's Great Britain PLC bankrupt, which is what they don't want. Right? Which is they don't want that. So what they do is to scare the shit out of you. Well, what do you think is going to happen? I predict either just before or shortly after the next lockdown comes about, a miracle vaccine or cure is going to come about, and everybody's going to run like lambs to the fucking kebab shop for it, because what the government's going to say is, right, we've got this vaccine, now you have to take it. If you want to go shopping, you want to go out and socialise, you want to visit your dying nan in hospital, you have to take it, and in return we'll give you a lovely little badge. Yeah. Now, if I was Jewish, and I'm not having a go at the Jews, I'd be saying, that rings a bell. And if I was Jewish, I'd say I'd have a whole bloody cathedral going. Or a synagogue. Assuming they have bells in the synagogue. I don't know, I'm not Jewish. But I'm assuming they've got bells in the synagogue, you'd have a whole bloody synagogue if I'm going. And that's what's going to happen, that's the BS. During lockdown, I didn't lock down. Right? Our social distance. I'll respect other people. If they want to social distance, fair enough. If they want to wear a mask, fair enough. That's your choice. Go for it. But I'm medically exempt, and in the last video I told you the shit I got from Morrison's. I'm going to keep shopping there just to wind them up, because that's me. I love it. I love it. I get off of it. The local police finally realised that and don't pull me anymore. You know what I mean? Because they know I love winding them up. I'm going to have some fun in life. So, anyway, let's see what happens there. But one question I've got from these people who claim to become time travel from the future, why didn't they warn us of this coming? And speaking of time travellers, if any of them's come from after the 24th century, right, why didn't anybody ask the obvious question? Well, the first question I would ask, if somebody come to me, oh yeah, I'm from the 25th century, first question I'd ask, do we go around on starships like they do in Star Trek? Well, maybe not, I don't know. It would be nice to find out. Or did the bloody planet get completely, utterly fucked up? Anyway, have a good day all. Live long and prosper.